my newest favorite website, verywellmind.com. Their article entitled "What is the Mandela Effect? How Masses of People Can Have the Same False Memory" by Arlen Kunsick? I don't know. The article states, and I'm just going to read you the article because I'm lazy. The Mandela effect refers to a situation in a large mass of people in which a large mass of people believes that an event occurred when it did not. The term was originated in 2009 by Fiona Broom after she discovered that she, along with a number of others, believed that Nelson Mandela had died in the 1980s when he actually died in 2013. Looking at the origin of the Mandela effect, some famous examples, as well as some potential explanations for this strange confluence of perceptions, can help to shed light on this unique phenomenon. Okay, so the term Mandela effect was first coined in 2009 by Fiona Broom when she created a website to detail her observation of the phenomenon. Broom was at a conference talking with other people about how she remembered the tragedy of former South African President Nelson Mandela's death in a South African prison in the 1980s. However, Nelson Mandela did not die in the 1980s in a prison. He passed away in 2013. As Broom began to talk to other people about her memories, she learned that she was not alone. Others remembered seeing news coverage of his death as well as a speech by his widow. Broom was shocked that such a large mass of people could remember the same identical event in such detail when it never happened. Encouraged by her book publisher, she began her website to discuss what she called the Mandela effect and other incidents like it. Any questions?
I think Fiona Broom might be a witch. Unrelated. I just looked her up because I was like, oh, that's an interesting name. So I looked her up to see if I could, peep what she looks like. I just want a disclaimer, too. Anytime because I do this frequently, I look up people because I need to know what they look like. It really doesn't have anything to do about, what they look like.
You just want to assign, a face to the name.
I want the vibe, right? We were kind of talking about this recently. You can never send me a picture of someone and I'll be like, ew, they're ugly, or ew, they're this, ew, they're that, because I don't. I know people probably are like, oh, that's such bullshit, but I genuinely do not pick up on things like that at all. It sounds like such a fake thing to say, but it's not.
I believe you. I know what your heart is like, and you're not a judgmental person anyway, so I totally believe you 110%.
It's always the vibe. So I get the vibe from Miss Broom. I think she's a witch. Comment, Fiona.
I love that because I'm a witch and witches are awesome. Okay, so explanations for the Mandela effect. So why would this effect even happen? False memories. A more likely explanation for the Mandela effect involves false memories. Before we consider what is meant by false memories, let's look at an example of the Mandela effect, as it will help us to understand how memory can be faulty and may lead to the phenomenon that we are describing. Who was Alexander Hamilton? Most Americans learned in school that he was a founding father. I am reading this article. I do not use the term founding father. There were people here before white people came here. And they didn't fucking find anything that wasn't here, okay? So the actual way to refer to the founding fathers is the framers of the Constitution.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much for that piece of knowledge, because I didn't know that. I can definitely see how that makes more fucking sense than calling them founding fathers. So not that I talk about them very much, but should I? I'll make sure that I say that.
Framers of the Constitution is what they are. That's what they...
Oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Holy fucking shit. I swear I'll do better. Poinsettias are not poinsettias, and don't call them that. Everybody. I meant to bring this up during our Christmas episode, but here it is. Calling a poinsettia is actually low-key offensive, because that flower was stolen or whatever from Western Mexican culture. I don't remember
I mean, I knew it was Mexican, but
Yeah, so it's hard because like when I saw this, I tried to memorize this word and I gave it to Patrick and I tried to make him memorize this word so we would never call them poinsettias again. But I can't remember the word because it's actually pretty complicated. And the word is Quetlashoshi.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so it's like an actual indigenous word.
And it's spelt Cuetlaxochitl. So it definitely isn't pronounced how it looks. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just difficult, but... So I don't know what to tell you guys to like say instead. This is so fucking useless.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Don't call them poinsettias. Okay, I will have to look up that word and like probably tattoo it onto the back of my hand so I never forget it.
I'm thinking we should, right? It's Quetlashoshi.
I love that. I love your pronunciation's really good.
Thank you. I don't think it's right.
Those indigenous words are not easy for like my tongue to handle. Like they're not easy.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, it's like a mix of French and Spanish almost. Like
yeah, because the fucking language we speak is the mark of the colonialism that our ancestors had to endure, and for that reason, I don't speak any indigenous languages, unfortunately, but I speak English and Spanish because those are the people who conquered my ancestors.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's why I don't speak any indigenous language. Thanks.
Quetlashoshi.
Right. I love that. All right. Who was Alexander Hamilton?
I'm so sorry.
Stop apologizing. We said on the last episode we were not going to apologize anymore.
No, it's just hard not to. I'm doing it again.
You're conditioned to take up less space.
Yeah,
it's almost as if there's like a war on women or something.
Oh, God. Anyway.
That just made my fucking lungs hurt. I was already like so pleased with myself for getting to it before you.
Yeah, I think I've fumbled the past like 2 episodes on that.
I was so satisfied with myself, and then you made me like my ribs hurt now because you made me laugh so hard with that stupid laugh track. Oh my goodness. Okay, who was Alexander Hamilton? Most Americans learned in school that he was...
I'm sorry.
I love you so much. Okay. Most Americans learned in school that he was a framer of the Constitution of the United States of America, but that he was not a president. Oh my goodness, I'm sweating. However, when asked about the presidents of the United States, many people mistakenly believe that Hamilton was a president. Why? If we consider a simple neuroscience explanation, the memory for Alexander Hamilton is encoded in an area of the brain where the memories for the presidents of the United States is stored. The means by which memory traces are stored is called the engram, and the framework in which similar memories are associated with each other is called the schema. So, when people try to recall Hamilton, this sets off the neurons in close connection to each other, bringing with it the memory of the presidents. Though this is an oversimplified explanation, it illustrates the general process. When memories are recalled, rather than remembered perfectly, they are influenced to the point that they can eventually become incorrect. In this way, memory is unreliable and not infallible. And that's why, like, you can have 2 people telling the same story and they tell it different.
Exactly, and that's like kind of based on everything. That's based on memory, it's based on perception, it's based on past experience, it's based on current trauma, past trauma, hearing, sight, it's based on everything. Like 5 people could be sitting in the room and the exact same thing could happen in that room, and you ask people to recall that situation and it could be entirely different. Yeah.
That's also kind of like, I don't know if you've ever read or seen the play The Glass Menagerie.
Mm-mm.
It's like supposed to be like one of the best American plays of all time or whatever. I saw it once in New York and it was great. But the whole the whole point, like, you're going through the guy's memories of these events. So it's like, you can't really trust him because he proves to you, even through his memory of the events, that he's not a reliable person.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's kind of like the same thing in The Great Gatsby with Nick Carraway being the narrator of the novel.
Yeah.
It's like, and then he also has instances in the novel where he's showing himself to not be a very reliable source of information.
Yeah.
So it's like, how much of what he's saying about Jay Gatsby is the truth and how it really happened, you know?
Well, and I think that's like an important thing people should keep in mind at all times, like especially these days when we're all so much on social media, and that's where like we get a lot of our news, and that's where we get a lot of our, you know, quote unquote facts for what's going on in the world, because really the vessel that you're getting that information from, it depends on their opinion of what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so confabulation, which involves your brain filling in gaps that are missing in your memories to make more sense of them. This isn't lying, but rather remembering details that never happened. Confabulation tends to increase with age. So I thought that was interesting. Like, you're filling in the gaps of like what you know is there.
Yes. It's interesting to hear these kind of broke down, because like I'm thinking to like my list, you know, for like next, and there's like examples of each of these.
Oh, good.
Especially that one, because that one just popped in my mind. I'm like, ooh, confab. So I'm gonna like highlight it real quick.
All right. Misleading post-event information. Information that you learn after an event can change your memory of an event. This includes subtle information and helps to explain why eyewitness testimony can be unreliable. All right. Okay. Priming. Priming describes the factors leading up to an event that affects our perception of it, also called suggestibility and presupposition. Priming is the difference between asking how short a person is versus how tall a person is. Saying, "Did you see the black car?" instead of "a black car" makes a subtle suggestion that influences response and memory. In essence, memories are vulnerable bits of information stored in the brain that can be changed over time. While we assume that our memories are accurate, this is not necessarily the case.
You know, and I just have to interject one more time there. I absolutely do not at all trust my memory. My memory's trash. It's weird because like very strange, like weird details I will remember to the letter. Like I'll remember a whole thing. Oh yeah, that could be it. But then like,
because you're an artist,
like people will tell me whole things and I'll be like, I don't remember that happening. And like that's
like how you didn't remember that we already had the idea for Chismosa merch.
Yeah, I mean I wasn't sober then, probably.
Well, neither was I. I mean, that's so interesting that you know your memory is not great, that you know not to trust your memory, because I'm the opposite. I remember everything. To the point where like it's almost detrimental to me.
Really? Like, I mean, but do you trust your memory like that? Because what I mean by like my memory's trash, what I mean by my memory's trash isn't that I can't recall a situation like to the letter. What I mean is that if something happens, right, and then a year later I recall back to it, that memory is very dependent on the emotion or whatever. It can be altered for me to feel extreme one way or the other, right? So like, if
I knew what it was like to be like that.
But if I think back to something in a sense where like something was a little bit bad, if I recall that 1 year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, it wasn't a little bit bad, it was the worst fucking thing that ever happened. Or if it was a little bit good, a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, it was the best thing that ever happened. So it's like my memory, it's not that I don't remember details, it's not that I don't, you know what I mean? It's not like that. It's that I know that my brain falsifies it or exaggerates it or fluffs it up a little bit more. But also, there are black spots from my childhood. Like, for years.
I
There's
fucking
worship.
wish,
Yeah.
bitch. I wish there were black spots from my childhood.
Aw, I'd
Gross.
swap
I
with
fucking
you.
wish.
Not
I
that
fucking
that's not me
wish.
belittling, but I would
You know
swap
what I
with
used
you.
to always
Thank you.
love in like Harry Potter when Dumbledore could take like his memories out of his brain and put them in the pensieve, whatever the fuck that thing was called. Do you remember that?
What did I just say, bitch? I'm just kidding.
Wow, where the fuck was I?
I'm so sorry.
Okay,
I'm on
this
one.
is my favorite explanation, and this is the explanation for the Mandela effect that I think is what makes this phenomenon so spooky to me, and I love it. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Alternate realities.
Yeah.
One theory for the basis for the Mandela effect originates from quantum physics and relates to the idea that rather than one timeline of events, alternate realities or universes may be taking place and mixing with our timeline. In theory, this would result in groups of people having the same memories because the timeline has been altered as we shift between these different realities.
Mm-hmm.
You aren't alone if you think this sounds unrealistic. Unfortunately, the idea of alternate realities is unfalsifiable, meaning there's no way to disprove that these other universes don't truly exist. This is why such a far-fetched theory continues to gain traction among the Mandela effect communities. You can't prove it's not real, so you can't discount the possibility of it. For many people, the excitement of a bit of mystery in everyday life also likely comes into play. So, to recap, while the notion of alternate realities might appeal due to its air of mystery, many examples of the Mandela effect are likely due to some type of collective misremembering. Incorrectly recalling information is in fact quite common. One study found that 76% of people made some type of mistake when asked to recall information.
Ooh, I think I read this portion of this article when I was doing my own research. I'm glad that I stopped because I started to read it and I was like, blah, 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 it's too much. I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah, well, that's my segment.
I loved that because I learned something. Who wrote that? Because it was written in a way that I could stay. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Sometimes it's difficult for me to stay focused on anything, and I don't have anything to fiddle with, so I can't really. But I stayed with that one.
Arlen Kunsick.
Oh yeah, you said
Kunsick.
that.
Yeah, I know. I always cite.
Yes, you do.
I was an English major. I'm not gonna plagiarize, baby.